All right, good evening, folks. Thank you all so much for joining. We are going to give folks a bit of a minute to get into the Zoom before we get started. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to give folks another minute to join the Zoom, and then we're going to get started. We have three great attendees here with us today to talk a little bit more about HBCU, so I'm very excited. Great. So this session will be recorded and we will share it out with the communities afterwards. So I know folks might be eating dinner, getting laundry done. I know I have a pile waiting for me back at home. It's a busy time of year, so we appreciate your attendance and we will have a recording. All right, so let's get started. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Joelle Chen, pronouns are she, her, and I'm one of our associate directors of college counseling at the Berkeley Carroll School. And I'll be serving as the moderator for the evening. So, thank you again so much for devoting your time to joining us for this historically Black colleges and universities panel hosted today by the Berkeley Carroll School, Brooklyn Friends School, Packer Collegiate Institute, and St. Anne's School. We are joined by students and families from all four of our respective schools, and we are especially happy to be in collaboration together in this space. So tonight we are going to hear an array of different experiences from our three panelists consisting of students and working professionals while highlighting the importance of higher education at historically Black colleges and universities. So, as I mentioned, I know that Thursday during this time of year is extremely busy for our students, our families, working professionals, and our student alums. So, we thank you for your participation and your dedication. I'd also like to give a very, very special thank you to our panelists for volunteering to be part of this event. It means so much to us that you are able to attend and share your experiences. And we're very excited to witness and learn more about your time at HBCUs. So our goal today is that wherever you are and you or wherever you and your family are in preparation for the college search process, that you will come away with a newfound or strengthened understanding of what it means to attend an HBCU, whether it's learning about a new institution, the academic and social opportunities available to students, or the rich culture and history that permeates through these institutions. We hope that this intimate conversation provides you with some valuable insight. So here's the agenda for tonight to give you an idea of what to expect. So we're actually going to start with a presentation, kind of introducing folks to HBCUs so that way we're all on the same starting point. And we're going to talk also about the changing landscape within HBCU admissions. We'll then take a few moments to hear from each of the panelists so that they can briefly introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about where they attend or attended college, what their major or profession is. And then we will have some questions that I'll start, but we would love to hear from you all. So there is a QA box. Feel free to put your questions in the QA box so that we can get to that later on. All right. So sounds good? So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen so that you all can see our presentation. Fantastic. So I think it's important to start off that everyone has the same footing and knowledge of historically Black colleges and universities within the United States. So it's important to note that HBCUs have been here for quite some time. The first HBCU was founded in 1837, and it was actually founded in Pennsylvania, which not everyone is familiar with. I think a lot of people think HBCUs solely are throughout the southern parts of the United States, but Cheyney University of Pennsylvania was our first historically Black college and university. And there are over 100 historically Black colleges and universities across the United States. And it is home to academic excellence and deep cultural traditions. This presentation is always really impactful for me. My grandmother is a proud alum of Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as is my mother. So I know firsthand the importance of HBCUs and how it really transforms communities. So thinking of the location of those over 100 HBCUs, they really are across the southern eastern part of the United States, as well as a couple in the mid-Atlantic region. So my home state of Maryland is actually home to 4 HBCUs, but they are throughout the United States. And there's actually a medical school or a medical program in California that is historically Black college and university. So while it's congregated around the South, it is spread throughout the United States. And you can see on this map here a couple of those universities. I think it's also important to highlight the academic excellence of HBCUs. So information I was able to retrieve from a White House proclamation supporting HBCUs from several years ago is that 40% of all Black engineers, 50% of all Black lawyers, 70% of all Black doctors, 80% of Black judges, and 12.5% of Black CEOs graduated from a historically Black college or university. And to give that perspective, only 6% of doctors in the United States are Black. Of those 6%, 70% of them attended an HBCU. So these are institutions that, yes, have this proud legacy of culture and community and are also transforming the state of academics and the professional class across this country. So I wanted to wrap up by just sharing a little bit about what is happening with HBCUs right now from an admissions standpoint. So we've seen a large increase in HBCU interest since the Supreme Court decision in 2023, which ended race conscious admissions. And there's been an interest, which you could see on this table on the right. This is from September 2024, so a year after that decision, seen the increase in applications. So schools like Howard University went from 33,000 to 36,000. North Carolina A&T, a public university, a public HBCU in North Carolina, went from 30,000 to 42,000 applications. So these are big increases that schools are seeing. It's private institutions and it's public institutions. As students are searching for places where they will be seen, where they will have community. There was a similar increase after 2020 when that increase in the Black Lives Movement was happening nationwide. And so in these moments of kind of social upheaval or of questioning and examining race and power in the United States, we see that HBCUs kind of regain a focus and a strong interest from students. And I'd like to highlight Spelman in particular. You know, their selectivity has drastically decreased based off of the interest that they are seeing from applicants, not only in the United States, but also international. HBCUs do have a strong international population as well. So their current acceptance rate is around a 24%, which is a notable drop from in 2021, a 51% acceptance rate. So these schools are getting more and more competitive. They're preparing that next generation of professionals, and they are these homes of culture, resistance, and community. So before I allow our panelists to introduce themselves, I did want to thank them. One of our panelists wasn't able to attend, but Keita Young, PJ Young, and Sydney Hellstone, thank you so, so much again for taking time out of your day to share your experiences with us. So I will stop. And I'm going to ask our panelists to actually introduce themselves. So I would love to hear, of course, your name, where you are attending or attended, what your major was or your profession is. So who would like to start? I'm gonna go with you, PJ. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. My name is PJ Young. I graduated Morehouse College in 2023. I was a business marketing major with a minor in sales, and I currently now work for BSE Global, which is the parent company for the Brooklyn Nets, Barclays Center, and the New York Liberty.
Thank you, Peter. Sydney, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Sydney Hellstone. I'm a junior honors mathematics major, health education minor, and I'm currently interested in going to the medical route as a mathematics major with a balance of policy as well.
Thank you. And Kita.
Hi, everyone. My name is Keita Young, and I graduated from Spelman years ago. After Spelman, I ended up going to the University of Pennsylvania Law School. And currently, right now, I am the head of community impact at FanDuel, the online sports gaming company.
Thank you so much. And you might notice a similarity in last names. We do have a mother-son duo here representing, I'd like to say, legacy of HBCUs in our Zoom space. So thank you so much again. So to start with, I'll frame this for Sydney and for PJ to kind of describe the kind of high school you attended and talk to us a little bit about your decision-making process in deciding what schools were going to be on your college list and how you were going to look at the colleges you were considering. Go.
Definitely. So I went to Packer Collegiate, go Pelicans. But I think for me, in looking at my college process, Morehouse and Howard were the two HBCUs that I was looking at. But outside of that, I was looking at Wesleyan, NYU, Goucher, Dickinson. And so for me at first, it was just pretty much adamant. I'm like, you know what? My mom went to an HBCU, my aunts, my cousins, and I was very much like, I'm going to do a different route. Like, I don't necessarily want to go that way. But essentially, what ended up happening, I ended up visiting Morehouse when I was in high school for homecoming, and it absolutely changed my entire mind. I said, I have to be here. And so from my freshman year, I was saying, you know what, I'm going to Morehouse. I want to go to Morehouse. And I say that's one of the greatest decisions I ever made in my entire life.
Thank you. Sydney.
So I attended Berkeley Carroll, which I love Berkeley Carroll. I boast about it all the time. I had the greatest time there. I really feel like I flourished there. But to be honest, I had been through predominantly white schools since the first grade. So I did want somewhat of a change, even though I did look into schools like University of Southern California, Syracuse, NYU. I still had those schools on my list. However, my god sister actually went to Howard University and my cousin, and seeing their experience, it was just really beautiful to see how much they flourished and how they've grown professionally as well. So I was able to spend a weekend with her. It wasn't homecoming, but it was Spring Fest. So like another version of homecoming, I guess. And I had the greatest time. Even though we were out like partying and whatnot, I still was able to learn about their academics and just see how Howard really does invest in the students' well-being, but also their education, and they want to see you flourish as much as possible, especially being that we're in DC as well.
Absolutely. Glad you enjoyed yourself at Springfest. And with homecoming coming up, those big traditions, they really matter at HBCUs. And we're going to get to that in a little bit as well. But I'd love to actually hear from all three of you. What are some of the advantages of attending an HBCU?
I can
Well,
start.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry.
We'll start with you, Sydney, and then we'll go to Yukita.
Okay. I would say the motivation. I think that becoming a doctor that's something I want to pursue, but it's something I thought was a very far off dream. However, seeing and working with students that have the same dream as me and look like me has been the most reassuring thing possible because everyone has internships, everyone has experience, whether it's shadowing or going to California to do like what did they do? They like did robotics for sports medicine, which I thought was insane. And so like just seeing how people prosper in the field that you want to pursue and knowing that it's possible for you, I think was the most reassuring thing about attending HBCU.
Absolutely. Kita, please.
yeah. So I did go to HBCU a long time ago, but I had a similar experience in terms of the school that I went to. I went to a private school in Philadelphia. It was a small girls' private school. And I was one of two Black people in the class. And just like, PJ said and Sydney, I thought I was going to UVA, like that was it. And my mother PJ's grandmother went to Cheney University and my father went to Lincoln. And my mother said, I want you to go visit Spelman. And I was like, Spelman? Like, what? I'm going to UVA. And I went down and I remember there was a class on Black women writers.
Mm.
And I had never experienced anything like that before in my 12 years at, at this school in Philadelphia. And I literally, like PJ, went down a weekend and I must have been home. And it just changed my whole perspective on what I was looking for in a college. Because I think college is about education and going and challenging yourself academically. But I also think it's about social life and it's about being in a place where you can thrive and grow and just be in an environment where, there are people that look like you and have the same ideas as you and you study about your culture and history. And so for me, I ended up was going to UVA and backed out and ended up going to Spelman. And I can tell you, it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. Now that I'm in my professional career and I've been out, like the networking, the camaraderie, the pride of like when I meet a Spelman woman, I'm like, oh yeah. When I see an application and they went to Spelman or if they reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm like, of course I'm going to give you 10 or 15 minutes because I believe in the support of my Spelman sisters and continuing the legacy and the excellence and helping people and just that networking or that connection is something that I really value. And I think other Spelman sisters probably feel the same way.
Absolutely. And I think that network is so universal across HBCUs, just from speaking to family and friends, that when it's like, oh, I went to Morgan State, I keep an eye out for other folks who went to Morgan State. Or, and apologies, Sydney, I'm going to bring up the other HU. I went to Hampton. I'm going to support the other folks who went to Hampton kind of thing. Like there is that tight knit camaraderie that is happening when you are an alum of these HBCUs. So I mentioned before, there are traditions, there are things that make it so unique to attend these schools. I'd love to hear from all of you if there is a particular tradition or experience that is so unique to your school that you would like to highlight.
I can say the first thing because mine is actually happening this weekend.
Uh,
It's homecoming.
mm,
Essentially, for everyone, for context, homecoming is a time in which everyone, previous alumni, come back to Atlanta to the campus of Spelman and Morehouse to just really reminisce and celebrate the times in which they spent at their college. During that time, there's a lot of activations, there's panel discussions, there's concerts, there's parties, and really just a time of just celebrating like Black success and Black life. And so you get to meet alumni. It's a great networking opportunity where you meet people that are in the same field and industry as you. And it's really just a great experience. And so my goal, I might actually end up going back flying tomorrow. So it's still up in the air right now, but definitely a great time and experience to really just feel that Black love and Black joy.
thank you.
I have to piggyback too. Homecoming is just so like homecoming is amazing. I would say homecoming for us starts next week, and every day it's something new, which I really do appreciate. Like we have fashion show, we have the Greek step show, we have tailgate. It's just a lot of like bonding and seeing. I won't call them old heads, but seeing the older past alumni come and get to interact with them and understand their experience at Howard and hearing what dorms they stayed in. And it's just so much rich history. And I feel like coming to a HBCU, you're just learning something new every day that you didn't know about your school. So it truly is a memorable experience. But I would say there's homecoming, there's also Springfest. So it's more for the students, but it's like a second version of homecoming. That's definitely a tradition that we have. And it's really fun. I enjoy it. Yeah.
I think for me, when I went to Spelman, there is a period when the freshmen come and we're all together and there is like an indoctrination into the sisterhood, right? So, I'm not sure if the tradition still experiences the same as it was when I was there, but like you're woken up in the middle of the night and everybody goes out and you like just talk about Spelman sisterhood, what that means. We wear, then we go to Sisters Chapel the next day and we wear white dresses and the tradition or white, a white outfit. But the tradition is really special to the university, to the college. And it's something that we all kind of feel like we are indoctrinated into the sisterhood and it continues like freshman year throughout the rest of our lives. You know, like I'm in a sorority, I'm an AKA, and I pledged at Spelman, but and that's a sisterhood in itself. But there's also that larger sisterhood that Spelman women feel that we all experience as 4 years together, and it definitely permeates later on in life.
I appreciate that you brought up AKAs, because I find the Divine Nine, the historically Black Greek organizations, are such an essential part of HBCU experience, even though not all of them were founded at HBCUs, right? So, Kita, you mentioned you're an AKA. PJ, I don't know if you pledged, but if you can talk a little bit about what that experience is like, joining a Greek organization and attending an HBCU.
Yeah. So like PJ talked a little bit about legacy, like every woman, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of women in my family are all AKAs, my mother, my great aunt, my cousins, everybody. So it was something that was exposed to me very early on. And so when I got to Spelman, the AKs were on campus and they were like the presidents of the student governments, the presidents of the classes. They were just very respected, educated, professional women that I just like loved and emulated. And so when, not everybody pledges, but when I knew that I wanted to pledge and that was an organization that was available on campus. I had the fortunate opportunity to be chosen and selected, but it was, it's a wonderful experience. Just it's another, wherever you go, it doesn't have to be at a historically Black college, but exposing yourself to another group of individuals that it's about sisterhood and community service and bonding together. And it's something that carries with you for the rest of your life, which I think is, um, a wonderful thing to have.
Thank you. Thinking a little bit more about the academic environment of the schools that you attended, has there been anything that's really stood out to you or has been pretty memorable being able to be in an educational space? All three of you mentioned attending predominantly white institutions, where in your classroom, you're sitting in a class with majority Black students, perhaps even Black faculty members. So thinking about the academic setting, the space of the classroom, what's really stood out to you all?
Yeah, I think for me during my time at Morehouse, one of the biggest things for me was being taught by Black teachers. And so my entire high school experience when I was in middle school as well, I was taught by white professors. And so having the opportunity to be taught by Black professors and really making me critically think about myself and the roles in my classes was really a great experience. But not only that, just the environment itself, you're with like-minded individuals who look like you in a classroom, and you guys are all trying to achieve those same goals. And it's really a great time to really have deeper conversations. So really a great environment in that.
Thank you.
To piggyback off of that, I would say I haven't been taught by as many Black professors, and I think that's just because the field that I'm in, there's not a lot of Black professors in the
Mhm.
STEM community at the moment. And that's something I think that working alongside people who want to go into those fields is a beautiful thing to see. Like, okay, you're with me in class, but then you could be my teacher the next day. I think that's a really like transformative thing to watch. But also, I would say that I do have the closest connection to the Black professors that I had. So, for example, my freshman year, I had a pre-calc teacher. I was not a math major at the time, by the way, and I just loved him like down. He helped me so much, and he just made me feel really comfortable in mathematics. And I ended up being a math major the next semester, and now he's my data science teacher. So we just had a full circle moment, and he left the school for a year and he saw my face. He's
Oh,
like,
wow.
I remember you. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So it was just really nice to know that there's still a connection there, especially with your Black professors and seeing how much they want to pour into you. And I rant to him about my math
Mhm.
classes, and he's always there to help. So.
So I remember just being in an environment where I knew that the professors cared about me and my growth and my success as a college student. Now, I think you can get that, at a lot of places, right? But when you have people like PJ and Cindy were saying, that people in the classroom that look like you, everybody's invested in your success and what you do, it just brings a very different energy. I think a lot of times in the settings that our kids are in and that we're in, we're the one and only. or
Mhm.
we're the one of few, right? And sometimes those situations can be isolating in terms of, is there an investment? Is there a true, um, you know, perspective of growth that everybody feels the same way? But I felt at HBCU, like everybody, it feels the same way. You have connections with teachers. They get to know you as individuals, and it makes the college experience, I felt, for me, just enjoyable and
Yeah.
just enlightening. And I say all the time, like, it was probably the best 4 years of my life. But my husband's like, what? My kids are like, what? But in terms of like a college environment, like I just thrived and excelled because of the community that I was in, that really allowed me to kind of like exceed all expectations and all goals and things that I wanted to do, out of college.
Absolutely. I think community is going to be like a reoccurring theme when thinking about all of your college
Mm.
experiences. Which, thinking of the college experience again, what surprised you all about your time in college, or for Sydney still in college? What's been the biggest surprise about your experience?
I could go first. It is so expensive. I I did not know. I was fortunate enough to never have to worry about finances going up into high school, but knowing that knowing the cost of tuition, I think is insane, but also just taught me like the dependency of scholarships and reaching out and emailing people, even if they're alumni, like just contacting them, being like, hey, I'm a student at Howard and I would love to have some scholarship money and prove to you why. Like it's selling yourself constantly to just show you
Hmm.
it's expensive. It's just expensive. Yeah. But I'm fortunate enough to be here because the opportunities I have are truly endless. But it's an investment in your education to get the title when you graduate that you are a Howard University grad, that you are an HBCU grad. But it's also even more fortunate to know the connection that you're going to get out of it as well.
Yeah. I think that's always the topic of conversations when thinking about historically Black colleges and universities are funding, right? And there are a lot of institutions that have some really strong merit aid, but merit aid unfortunately doesn't get to go for everyone. So I always plug, because I think it's a really important thing to think about. But the United Negro College Fund actually has some really, really great scholarships in partnership with HBCUs. And there's small ones, there's big ones, but you really do got to be on top of it. But you'll realize when you get there, and maybe Sydney, this has been your experience, there's also a lot of internal scholarships, or like once you're there, you can apply and it's like, oh, I didn't even know that existed.
One thing I can say, like, since I've been out and I've been, in the working world for years, and I don't know if it's a surprising thing, but I don't think I appreciated while I was there. When companies are looking for diverse talent,
Mm.
when they're saying that they want to diversify their workforce, when they're looking for top talent, they go to HBCUs to look for talent. Like the amount of investment that companies give to their campus programs to attract diverse students and associate themselves with HBCUs is phenomenal. Like I'm at FanDuel now, but I was at JP Morgan, and every year, like we're down at Spelman and Morehouse and Howard, just looking and seeking Black talent. PJ is one of three kids, and I have my middle son's at Tulane, and it's what I find is an excellent education, excellent institution, but the resources of finding a job are very different than I find that what PJ had at Spelman and Morehouse and Howard. Those companies are going there. They are looking for talent. At Tulane, it's more so you've got to go out on your own to kind of get that. The companies aren't going to those schools, so that when they're looking for diverse talent, they are going to HBCU. And another thing, people said to me, oh, you're going to school, everybody looks like you and everybody's the same. Like, how are you going to like prepare yourself for the real world? That to me is a fallacy. And like, I went to
Yes.
Spelman, I went to Penn Law, I worked at JP. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is not something that is a hindrance. It actually prepares you, I think, even more for the real world because it gives you the like the the confidence, the ability I can do everything or anything because of the Black pride, Black
Mm,
excellence, like that is reinforced every day in everything that you do. So when you get out here in the world, you've got confidence in who you are. You know what your abilities are because it is ingrained in the curriculum of these institutions.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, my mom kind of took that right out of my what I was gonna say. But schools are looking to hire students from HBCUs. And so one of the big things I can say is that every year we have three career fairs where it's probably over 350 companies that are coming to our schools trying to speak to us, recruit talent. But not only that, and now being in the work field now, seeing in the working world, these schools are now, or my company is now reaching out to me saying, hey, we want to have an imprint on Morehouse. How can we activate at Morehouse and make sure that we are getting the talent from Morehouse and Spelman? So please give us the ways in which you guys are having your college fairs during this time. So that's been a really, really big surprising moment for me, just seeing how many companies really care about having HBCU talent. But I think the second thing that was really monumental to me that was surprising was how college has just been a big thing after those 4 years. And so now being in the workforce for 2 years, everywhere I go, if I'm wearing a Morehouse hoodie and somebody's gonna stop me and we have a conversation. Just this past week, I ended up meeting a guy on the basketball court who happened to play at Morehouse. And so we had a great conversation, and now we're going to hang out a couple of days later. And it's really just creating those meaningful connections in a city where people are always going to look out for you. And I know it may sound cliche, but a brotherhood that goes a long way is really worthwhile. So really, truly a great experience.
absolutely. Anytime I do these panels, I'm like, dang, I want to go back to college, do it all over again, because it's so true. You do get that community, that communal spirit that lasts far longer than the 4 years that you're spending on that campus. So I only have a couple of final questions for the panelists. So if you have any questions for them, please put them in the Q&A box and we will get to those in a couple of minutes. But all of you went through the college process or was a parent of a student or several students going through the college process. There are juniors, seniors, maybe even sophomores and ninth graders in this place. Maybe some of the seniors are working on their final essays and supplements for their college counselors. But do you all have any advice from your experiences of what they should be thinking about when it comes to adding HBCUs onto their list or applying to HBCUs that you think could help them navigate this tricky time of college admissions?
Yeah, I can say for myself, just when I was applying, one of the big things, and I like to say this about Morehouse, it really cares about the intersectionality of the Black man. And so when you really think about that, kind of maybe being confined into a box because you're at a predominantly white school, the things that you are passionate about and you care about, write about those, put those on your resume,
Mm,
because when you have your interviews or your conversations, speak to those things. And really there is a group and there are people for you that also have those same passions and goals. And so for me, one of the big things, I was a big lacrosse fan. And no, though Morehouse didn't have a lacrosse team at the time, there was a lot of other kids who ended up playing lacrosse who went to Morehouse. And so a Morehouse lacrosse team ended up getting started. And now I was a part of the Morehouse lacrosse team for 3 years. And so that was truly a great experience in itself. And so really the things that you care about, you're gonna find your people. So I say always to care about your passions and constantly push to have those and then showcase those in your application process.
great advice.
I would say in the application, show that you have a growth mindset. I think that Howard had, well, not Howard, let me speak about HBCUs, period. There's so much that happens at a HBCU. There's so many clubs. There's anime club. Like you said, there was lacrosse that you decided to make on your own and like just a group of people. So I think having the mindset of I can grow and I can learn new things, or maybe I have a new change of heart and I want a different profession, coming with that mindset of this is where I am now, but I can grow and I can learn new things, I think is the most important thing in an application, and showing that you're a leader in a sense that you know when to sit back, but you also know when to lead. I think that's the most important thing when applying to a college as well.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take the perspective as a parent. So, I have PJ, and I told you I have a second one who's at Tulane, but I actually have a senior at Packer. And so I have two boys and a girl. The girl is now a senior at Packer. And for years, of course, I've been saying, Spelman, I want you to go to Spelman. She's like, I'm not going to Spelman, Mom. I'm not going to do it. PJ was there. We were there all the time. I'm there for homecoming. And then I sent her down without me, and she went with a group of people, and it was the end of last year, and she came home and she was like, I was in bed, and she's like, the end of my bed, and she's like, you were right. And I was like, now I'm right, but okay, yay, yeah, and she's like, Mom, I just saw it very differently. I think as a parent, it's about exposure and trying to expose your kids to all different types of opportunities. And I think learning, sending her to Spelman on her own to experience the school, sending her to other colleges, the same thing to experience on her own, I think has really helped her formulate like where she wants to go, where she should apply. Spelman is now on high on the list. If she goes there, I'll be super happy. But I think it's like having a like in Sydney said, a growth mindset and looking at different types of school. You never know where you're going to end up, but it's nice to be able to to feel it a little bit, see if you can see yourself there. If you can't get there, talk to alumni. I think this is a great panel that you're having so people can kind of hear about other people's experiences, but just be open. Be open to different ideas. And I think oftentimes students that are in these, um, you know, private school settings, and, their classmates and other people are going to all these other schools, and they're like, we're not thinking about, HBCUs. Just be open to other ideas, just be open to other experiences, because you never know what would be the best choice. And listen, I hear you, like all my girlfriends, a lot of them who are like, man, I wish I went to HBCU, because I was like, I got my sisters, I got my line sisters, I got my Spelman. And I could tell you, like PJ, when he is with his friends and they're at our house, I just am just like, love seeing the camaraderie and the friendship and just the brotherhood. It just, my heart just beams with like pride. So as a parent, that's what I think.
I cannot agree further about like opening up your mind and opening up your perspectives for what can be on your college list. As I mentioned at
Sure.
the beginning, there are over 100 HBCUs. There are HBCUs in major cities. There are HBCUs in a small town if you want to be in the middle of the trees. There are women's colleges, men's colleges, public, private, very, very small, very, very large, that there is likely an HBCU that will have what you're looking for to really add into that consideration, because you truly don't know and who you are. And I probably speak to this for Sydney and PJ, who you are at the beginning of the college process is not who you are at the end of it. And so you never know what might shift or what might change. So really broadening your perspectives is so important. So we have a couple of questions from some of the attendees. So I'm going to start with this one. Thank you all. Your experience sounds ideal. Can you say whether there are vibrant LGBTQ communities within your schools, and what you think this experience for students, a part of the LGBTQ plus community, are experiencing on campuses?
Yeah, I can speak about my experience.
Yeah.
The LGBTQ plus IA experience is absolutely stellar at my school. I think one of the great things about Morris, as I said before, is that the intersectionality of the Black man. There's no set script of how the Black man should act or be. And so one of the great things about that is our community is very strong at our school. It's accepted. It's something that we really do appreciate, and we always make sure to acknowledge and support all those people.
Thank you, PJ.
I can agree to that as well. We have something called Cascade, which is the coalition for LGBTQ plus plus. And so it's very active. They have their own lounge. It's actually the best lounge on campus, to be honest.
Oh,
So
nice.
I would say we're very the campus is very supportive of that community, but also we don't try to single anybody out as well. Like it's very much like we accept you for who you are and we go about our day. And it's a great community, I would say, for sure.
Absolutely.
I would say when I went to Spelman, I can be really honest, it wasn't progressive in thought, right? I have a daughter who's a member of the LGBTQ community, and I am confident that she will go, if she goes to Spelman, that she will thrive, be accepted. Like there is a lot of investment in that community and making sure that people feel accepted. So I have no reservations at all of like of sending her to Spelman because I know that, no matter what type of woman she is and what are the attributes that she has, she will be accepted and thrive and grow.
Thank you all. Kita, actually, there's another question about sending your daughter on the Spelman tour. Do you know if that was a tour or did she go on her own?
Oh no, she didn't go on her own. She actually went with we're a part of Jack and Jill, and so
Gotcha.
our Jack and Jill chapter sponsored a trip during homecoming weekend, which I was like, wow,
Ooh.
really um, bold, and that's when she went. So she went with the group, but without me, and so she just saw, I guess, with different eyes.
Got you. I do know there are some HBCU bus tours because we did have a attendee ask about that. I don't know any off the top of my head, but there are a lot of tours that go
Hmm.
through different HBCUs year round. So those are some resources that your college counselor might be able to share at your school. Another question, HBCUs and strong science or research programs, if you could chat a little bit about the STEM programs that are available there, as well as any music programs, ensembles or orchestras, if any of you were involved in that.
I am a STEM major. The STEM department is very strong. I would say that the research, I think it's tier one research is what it's considered. We are a tier one school, so our research is very heavy. If you email a professor, hey, can I hop on your research project? It's an automatic yes. So they're very avid on research. There's a lot of internship opportunities where students go abroad or they stay in the country at least and do a lot of research in the summertime. They also have a lot of externship opportunities that we do. And if you're interested in political science, being that we're in DC, there's a lot of students that actually go to school and go to the White House like every other day. So it's a really beautiful experience to see. In terms of music, we have the Warner Center. So we have a strong partnership with Warner Bros. I think that's what they're called. And there's a lot of students that go through that program and work with music executives. And our College of Fine Arts is also a very big program as well when it comes to music, acting, and dance as well.
Thank you. It is a beautiful theater, also the Warner Theater. I've seen many a concert in there. Anyone else who participate in like STEM or music?
I
Um,
didn't. Yeah, okay, go ahead, PJ.
Sorry, I was gonna say I didn't participate in either, but specifically on the music program at Morehouse is extremely strong. I think being
Mm,
in Atlanta, there's a lot of different record labels that are always coming to potentially look at new talent. I know a kid in my class ended up signing to QC, the label. But just to kind of talk about that in itself, the program is very strong, not only in fine arts, but also just in the opportunity of just really exposure to music in itself. Atlanta and Morehouse is really a great place to do that.
So I was a political science major, but my daughter, who I was talking about, when she went on this trip, there was a panel discussion, and she wants to be a doctor. And the woman who was on a panel had gone to Spelman, and I think she was at Duke Medical School. And my daughter was like, Mom, she was phenomenal and fabulous and all of this, and such a strong program, the science program at Spelman. I didn't realize it. So yes, Spelman has a strong science program. She was very impressed with the panelists. And so I think that you can find what you're looking for in the medical field at HBCUs. And I know, like, listen, years ago, like music and, there were all these choir groups, ensemble, the Morehouse Spelman, PJ, like the choir is like famous. They're like going all
yeah.
around the world. So like all of those things that you think that you can only get at a predominantly white school, we've got the same thing. We've got
Oh,
the
yeah.
same things at HBCUs.
And I'd be remiss to not mention like FAMU or Southern for their marching bands that
That's right.
are world renowned, have changed marching band culture that like students really dedicate time. They're pretty much athletes out there, if not bigger than the athletes. So definitely strong music and STEM programs. The other part of the question is about scholarships. It's really going to depend on every institution. Like I mentioned, United Negro College Fund, the UNCF, along with the Thurgood Marshall Program, have some really great scholarships that you can look at now. You might not be eligible, or your students might not be eligible, but you can start to see the kind of merit scholarships that are available for students specifically attending HBCUs.
So can I just give a
Of
plug
course,
from my company, FanDuel? So
please.
when we launch in a new state, we give $1 million to the United Negro College Funds to support historically Black colleges and students in those states. So North Carolina, Maryland. So like I was saying, like companies that are doing great things, in particular for HBCU students, we're one of them. And like I'm proud to be, responsible for that in my role at FanDuel. But there is money out there.
There is. All right, I'm going to see if there's any other questions in the chat. If not, I have a final question for you all, but I want to give folks a second. And again, thank you all for spending your Thursday evening with us. Okay. So I guess my final question for you all, what is one word that you would use to describe your college community, and why?
I would say tradition. I
Mhm.
think since I was there and speaking to my uncles who were there years or decades before me, we can talk about similar experiences that take place and how those were such meaningful and impactful experiences in our lives that really some things that we will carry forever. And so I think one of the things that Morehouse is really rooted and grounded in is the tradition of really building and uplifting Black men and having us succeed in this world. And that's something that will continue on 20 years from now, 30 years from now in that legacy.
Thank you.
I would say irreplaceable for the sense that I'm part of a community service org and I love my org sisters through that. They're people I can never replace. I don't know where I'd be without them. I would say the education I have, the motivation I have increased when I got to Howard. I would also say the connections, but also the pending connections I know that can come in the future, the opportunities. I was just at Microsoft last week and I had a whole pitch competition. Like I never thought I would be doing that, but I did it. So the opportunities, the experiences are so irreplaceable. And so I cherish them a lot. So I would say irreplaceable would be the
Thank you.
I know you asked for one word, but I'm gonna give a couple. So
I'll take
sisterhood,
it.
sisterhood. There is nothing like the sisterhood that comes out of a Spelman experience, right? And I feel connected in some way to every woman that has gone to Spelman, and it is just something that just permeates with us. I'm traveling right now. You guys probably saw I was in a car. Now I'm here, but on my bag, I've got like a Spelman pin. Like there's so much pride. So my other word is pride. Just to represent a place that is so special to me. And I don't know a Spelman woman that doesn't feel the same way. When we go places, we find out there's Spelman women. We all got to take a picture. The Spelman women who are in this group, or Spelman women in that group. There's such a sisterhood and pride that comes with being a Spelman graduate that I don't know is replicated anywhere else in terms of a college experience, but it's something very special.
Thank you all. You chose great words in some cases, and I appreciated that for your schools. And like we mentioned earlier, we have Spelman, Morehouse, and Howard represented, but I think a lot of those words could be applied to HBCUs as a whole.
Mhm.
There are so many dynamic and incredibly academically rigorous communities across this country that as you start to build your college list or finalize your college list, to really think about HBCUs as an addition to the list, to really examine and explore those campuses to get to learn more. But we thank you all as panelists for spending your Thursday with us, for sharing some wisdom, sharing some insight, and again, making me excited to go back to college. Thank you to our attendees for joining us. As I mentioned, this will be recorded, so we will be sending this out, but we hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.